I'm Tom Durham, the National Sales Manager for Soundcraft. I'm going to spend a few minutes to point out key features of the VI6 and VI4 digital mixing system from Soundcraft. One of the important things, and one of the things that applies particularly to the house of worship market, is that we've tried to keep the control surface of the console very simple. So when the first time a system engineer or band engineer or volunteer walks up to the console, they'll find that it's very simply laid out. There's essentially a single encoder, one per channel, so there's 32 encoders on the surface. That encoder can be controlled by one of three things, one of five things: input gain, gate threshold, pan, or two user-defined settings. You have an input meter directly below the encoder, a 6-character LCD display indicating naming, a fader, and an on-off switch, as well as a solo select switch. So essentially there's not much for the engineer to sort through. They come up to the console and they can figure out that I have a fader that controls level, I have one knob that can do a variety of things. So it's very straight ahead and easy to figure out. One of the key features of the console is the screen technology we use. It's a patented technology from Studer, our sister company, called Vistonics. We've worked in conjunction with Studer to develop the console, and the Vistonics allows us to put encoders directly over the glass. Another unique feature about the console is that we use a vertical channel strip alignment for our channels. Many digital consoles will bring you down to a central sign panel. By using a vertical channel strip, it allows display of more channels at once. So you essentially can see 32 input channels at one time, and each input channel has 6 blocks, each block representing a portion of the channel. When I need to access a channel, I touch the block and it maps it out onto the encoders with the graphics displayed behind it. One of the benefits of digital consoles, us and others, is that there are processors built into the console that you normally would have to pay extra for in a rack mount or external situation. So ours are built in. You get a gate, a compressor, and a de-esser. You also get 8 stereo lexicon effects units built in. The lexicon effects units can be accessed by the main menu by hitting Menu, Effects, and then you have 8 blocks indicating the processors that are available to you. And then if you want to control one of the processors, you touch it and it maps it out onto the encoders. Again, making the control of the console very direct. Another feature that's handy in house of worship use is the capability to gang channels together for control. For instance, I'm going to go to the B layer here, and I'm going to, as you may see on the video, you can see that there's existing EQ. I may want to put all that EQ flat. So there's a control called gang. If I just press the gang control, which is located in the center section, I can then select certain channels, or I can select a range by hitting the one switch and holding the end of the range. So that selects all those channels. I can now select EQ flat for one channel. Hold it for a second. And it clears the EQ for all of them. So now I may think, well, I need to get 100 hertz out of all these channels. So if I do it to one, it does them to it all. It's a great setup function, particularly if you have choir mics or any thing that might have come up at the spur of the moment where you have to, in a hurry, set up settings, maybe get a high-pass filter on, maybe get 48-volt phantom power on. Another common feature on digital consoles and on ours is a way to flip the faders or bring the sends down to the faders. On ours, you hit a switch here called Follow Output Solo, which is located in the master section. When I do that, I can then solo an output, and the faders will jump to become contributions to that output. So this is now my aux-in 1 mix from my 32 channels that are on the surface. This would be my aux2 mix for the 32 channels that are on the surface. One thing that's unique to us that we do is we illuminate the fader slots. So when the fader slot is glowing yellow, it means that it's a contribution to aux-in. If you see no color coming from the fader slot, it's an input module. Anytime you see color, contribution to output. So again, it makes it very evident when you're looking at the console what mode you're in for the faders. You can also assign groups from this mode by soloing a group. You'll see that the groups glow green, and I can use the on-off switch as a bus assigned to a group. Another unique thing on the console is the capability to see all your metering at once. So you can see all 32 output meters. They're color-coded to indicate what style of output they are. and they have underneath them 64 input meters. And one of the nice things about the input meters is I can be working on the second layer, the B layer, and I might need to get to 8 inputs very quickly. I can actually touch the metering screen and they will appear to my right-hand side. That allows me to control very quickly any 8 channels on the console at a press of the screen. This is also handy in a house of worship application for a staff volunteer arrangement where a staff person may be training a new volunteer to the console. He's assisting him by hanging out to the right of the console, but he sees something he needs to get at quickly and doesn't want to interfere into his workspace. He can actually reach around and get to any 8 things to the right side of the console for control. The console is also strong in terms of sonic quality. We use a DSP engine from Studer, our sister company, that has 40-bit floating point processing, which means I can have up to 18 dB of EQ on all 4 bands without any distortion. It's virtually unclippable in the digital domain. That's just a sneak preview and sort of overview of the features available and how to use them on the Soundcraft VI6. There's a website called www.soundcraftdigital.com that also contains a downloadable offline editor. And the beauty of the offline editor is it works just like the screen you see here, so it's a very good training device and way, besides being able to program the console offline, to teach new volunteers and yourself the console.